There is nothing much worse than being in a relationship with a narcissist, someone who is self-centered, emotionally immature, preoccupied with their own success and power and grandeur and all of that incredible, horrible stuff. But there actually is something worse. And that something worse is the obsessive compulsive narcissist, which I want to talk to you about. I'm Dr. David Hawkins from the Marriage Recovery Center and the Emotional Abuse Institute. You're going to want to click on the subscribe button and share this with others. They're going to want to hear what I have to say about the obsessive compulsive narcissist. And when I use the word obsessive compulsive narcissist, I want you to understand that this is an individual who not only is emotionally immature, but now want to layer onto this a sense of power and control, a demandingness, a rightness, a wrongness, a goodness, a badness, a morality to life. Why would I use the phrase a morality to life? Well, morality implies right, wrong, good, bad. And this person is so preoccupied with order and a sense of things being done the way they want it to be done that it takes on a self-righteousness to it. Self-righteousness. Come on, this is the way it should be. There's that kind of dismissiveness and that kind of talking down to you that feels incredibly humiliating. Incredibly humiliating. They have elevated their own sense of right and wrong, good and bad, the way they want the world to be. It's well beyond a preference. Because, come on, we all have preferences, right? We all have preferences, and that's what makes the world go around. But when they foist their preferences on you, when they try to fit you into a box, then you become smaller and they become larger. You feel oppressed and controlled and dominated and powered over. Now, notice in this sense of self-righteousness, this morality about the way things ought to be. Should is their favorite word, by the way, should. You should save more money. You should work harder. You should keep the house cleaner. You should drive differently. You should. You're like, you want to scream. You want to scream. They have taken their preferences and they've stepped well over your boundaries. They've encroached on your world, and now your otherness, your individuality is decimated, absolutely decimated, because bound by their own internal anxiety and their need to have things be a certain way, they have pushed, demanded. All the while you feel smaller and smaller, more insignificant, more devalued, and there is no room for you to be an individual, to have your own personhood. To be fair, I think at times this is born out of their own internal anxiety, their own internal sense that things really need to be a certain way. And this has become their way of living. And so they don't even see anything necessarily wrong with this. Come on, you really should save more money. You really should go along with this. You really should live differently. You should. I mean, come on. It makes sense. It makes sense to them. And they are so driven by this rigid sense of right and wrong that you get lost in the shuffle. Literally lost in the shuffle. Your individuality, your personhood becomes non-existent because they must have things be a certain way. All right, if this is ringing a bell for you, what do I want you to do? I want you to step back from the situation and I want you to evaluate. I want you to evaluate. And in so many of these issues that I talk about that pertain to emotional abuse and narcissism, I want you to step back. I always want you to step back, to take a time apart, to reflect, to evaluate, to consider, am I losing myself in this relationship? Is my otherness celebrated? Is my individuality celebrated? Have I begun making compromises? Have I begun adapting, coping, and accommodating? Which, by the way, we like to think of as positive traits, but if you're adapting, coping, and accommodating too much, you're pretzeled out of shape. You've lost your individuality. So I want you to step back, take a time to evaluate. I want you to journal. I want you to consider your life. How are you feeling? How do you feel in this relationship? Have you made too many compromises where you now feel a sense of resentment? You're kind of irritated. You're kind of angry about the way you have to live. You tiptoe. You fear rocking the boat. You walk on eggshells. It's not a way to live, folks. Not a way to live. So if you're doing that, if you notice some of these traits in your relationship, then begin by just acknowledging that to yourself. There is power in acknowledging your situation. There's power in that because once you have that and once you obtain a conviction about, wait a minute, I'm living in a way that I don't like, then you start to open the door to having more choices. All right. So again, if you see yourself in this situation, the obsessive compulsive narcissist, I want you to take note. I want you to consider reaching out for help. I want you to click on the link below and we have help available for you. There is help and change is possible with an intervention. And that's a whole additional video in which you can find more videos pertaining to these topics on the links below. All right. As always, I hope this has been helpful and God bless.